Right now, Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call, powered by FanDuel Sportsbook.
And good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave here at Pittsburgh CW headquarters. Along with 93.7 The Fan, this is the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Bob Pompeani here, Andrew Fillipponi at The Fan. After we both took in a Penguin loss. It's the fourth in a row. They got 3 points along the way as overtime and shootout losers. But Andrew, that's a lot of games they played, 8-13, and I thought they carried the play largely tonight, but mistakes were a big part of why they lost.
Yeah, thank you for letting me sit next to you at the game for a couple periods, Bob. Even though you're banned on TikTok right now, I still was perfectly comfortable and fine being around you. I didn't think that that really hurt my streak cred at all. But, this is a game where you like the process, okay? You get 40-plus shots. You think if you play that way, you're going to win most nights. But there are some things that I think really stick into your craw going into the All-Star break. You let in a goal, a coast-to-coast goal, right before the end of the second period, right. Bob. That shouldn't happen. And then, power play, tremendous. A+. You want to take advantage of those special team situations. But you also want guys in your bottom six to contribute something. And I know a lot of those guys kill penalties, and you want them to contribute in ways that don't show up on the score sheet, being a tough line to play against, hemming a top line in and playing in another team's offensive zone with their stars on the ice. I mean, sometimes a fourth line or a third line can impact a game in those ways. But it would be nice every once in a while if they scored a goal. Yeah, I think that's the dilemma right now with this team. They're getting nothing from those bottom six skaters.
Evan Rodriguez has gone stone cold Steve Austin. I mean, he hasn't had a goal since I don't even know when the last one was. And it, to me,
is that a wrestling reference by you? Good job, Bob. You're very You're very up with pop culture these days. That's nice.
No, I mean that's an old timer right there. I mean, Stone Cold, you can't go wrong with him. Anyway, ever since he was taken off.
It's not exactly Hulk Hogan. I mean, he's a little more recent than that, so I'm impressed, that's all.
Every time you take somebody off a power play who's been doing well, and Rodriguez got off that power play, and he's had a hard time ever since, skating with Zahorna and Carter tonight. Carter's another guy who needs to pick it up a little bit from the goals. We haven't seen much at all from Zach Aston-Reese, and once again, I mean, you could talk about all the good things that Dominic Simone does. What he doesn't do is score. And sooner or later, he's on the fourth line now. They sometimes move him up. You got to score. Simple as that. You can't be Ron Flockhart. That's the name of the past now. I don't know if you recognize it, Andrew, but that's a guy who used to. He and Gary McAdam were my two examples of guys who look so good skating all over the ice and doing everything, but they can never score.
Yeah. Well, this homestand, I think, kind of falls flat in the end. You got points in a lot of these games, but really a lot of winnable matchups where you were the better team on paper or you allowed for a team to take an extra point from you. The Penguins played so well coming into this stretch where it's hard to ding them or be critical. But at the same time, this is a team that really is in a crossroads year. You know what I mean, Bob?
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen with Malkin, Letang, and Rust? And if those guys aren't back, I have a hard time picturing them being a better team next year and over the next couple of years. So I think that there should be some more eggs in this basket. They've got $4 million in cap space here. So how do they move that? How do they use that moving forward? That's not why Hextall was hired, to be this horse trader like Jim Rutherford. But at the same time, don't you have to honor this team in Letang and Malkin's last year and try to get them the help they need to win a Stanley Cup?
Yeah,
I think he owes it to them, Bob.
Yeah, and I also think the case with Brian Rust is interesting because if you were Jim Rutherford, what he tended to do was strike early before like when Jake Gensel got his deal. It was well before Jake Gensel. I mean, he showed you what he could do, but he invested in him a longer-term deal, $6 million a year, when I think maybe people thought, wow, that's a lot. But, he saw what he saw, and he wanted to get in ahead of the market moving up. And in case of Brian Rust, if Hextall had done that, let's say at the beginning of this year, the price would have been much better than it will be moving into free agency. Or if they can't figure out to get a deal, they may have to trade him at the deadline.
Well, that would be sort of punting on the year.
I say that meaning it depends on what you get in return. Point is, what are you going to do? You're going to let them all skate away if you don't get deals done? I think they will get deals done with, I think, Letang principally, but I'm not sure about the other guys. And that includes Malkin. I mean, what do you do unless he's willing to take less money?
Well, but he's trickier to deal at the deadline for a number of reasons. Number one, do you do that to an all-time great within your franchise? And then he also has the whole no movement clause. Right. He'd have to give you the thumbs up on that, and I can't picture him doing that. So, Rust, Bob, I have to be honest here. I wasn't one who in the summer was saying, oh, you got to extend this guy. And the reason why I was mum was because I watched Rust and Gensel pretty much get pushed around in that Islanders series. And so I had the recency bias of another early playoff exit, and I felt like those guys were small and were knocked around by the Islanders, and because the way the games were officiated, they weren't very productive. So if that's why Brian Burke and Ron Hextall were reluctant to give Rust $6-7 million a year, I get that. I really do.
Yeah, but they have only so many guys who are capable of scoring on a consistent basis, and right now it's just the top line and not many others.
I mean, what do you do with him then, Bob? Let's get your opinion. You're the
I would try to sign him, but again,
here.
I would have, and again, I'm hearkening back to what I said at the beginning of the year. I would have signed him then, and I said
but
it
a little
then.
late for that though now.
No, I know that.
I mean, I think
the whole point of me saying it was because I thought you strike ahead of time. And one thing I talked to Rutherford a lot over the years, and I'm up against a break here, was the fact that he said that was part of his strategy. Tanev, he overshot because he wanted him. He liked him. He gave him longer term, not as.
But now that we're past this point, now what do you do?
I don't know. I mean, it would depend on what the market says at the time and how much you'd have to ask his agent in advance. What are we talking about here? Let's get this going. Talk now. And I'm sure they're starting to do that. Anyway, we're due for a break. We're going to stop talking for now and take a break. We'll come back with your talk next. Call us at 412-575-2600 right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.